Hi everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Intuitive Queens podcast. I am your host, Mara Marchesi, aka the Intuition Queen. If you're new to this podcast, welcome. And if you've been listening and watching this for a long time, thank you for coming back. So let me tell you a little bit about me. I am an intuitive and creative coach, a healer, psychic, and obviously a podcaster. And I'm really passionate to help people, entrepreneurs, and creative people to release any kind of blockages, fears, limitations, anything that stops them from being their true self. And I do that helping you to connect to your intuition, because I really think that trusting yourself is the most powerful thing and tool that we have, because nobody can stop us when we are able to trust our decisions and ourselves and what our soul wants us to do. And in doing that, we often come across a lot of obstacles that could be fears, could be limiting beliefs, could be subconscious situations that we don't even know about. And sometimes we feel stuck, we feel like we cannot move to the next level, and we don't really know why. And it doesn't matter if you're very successful, a little bit successful, how you define that. But my passion is really to help you to unlock all of your potential so that you can truly be yourself and create the life that you truly desire. And step into the frequency of abundance, love, success, friendship, anything that you truly want. So this podcast is here because I wanted to share as many stories as possible of people that have decided at some point to trust their intuition and really change their life. So you're going to hear all kinds of story, people that have gone through really traumatic experiences in their life, painful ones, some that actually didn't have that much of a challenge, but still they had to come out of the closet, as they say, to show the people that they were a spiritual being and they could actually create a life that was different from the path they had started with. This podcast is here to inspire you, to help you to get clarity, to take action. And I hope you find some help in here, either with the stories that I'm going to share or with the stories that my guests are going to share. All right, let's go then. Hi, everyone. Today's guest is an intuitive life and business coach, and her name is Cassandra Rosa. Hi, Cassandra. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat with you today.
I'm very excited to chat with you because you're intuitive, you're a life coach, but you also are a business coach. And I really love to dive deeper into the business world and how we can use our intuition to get a business that is thriving and that we're happy. But before we dive deeper into this, I want to ask you, how was your relationship with your intuition before and after? What brought you to become this type of coach?
Yeah. So from a very young age, I was very empathetic. I could kind of sense energy. And from a very young age, when I was like 5 years old, I woke up in the middle of the night the day that my nonno, my grandfather, passed away, and I saw him in the mirror, and it kind of freaked me out, right? I had these experiences of feeling energy, feeling empathetic to people, so I resisted it for a very long time. And I started in the industry for 10 years ago, the personal development industry, doing workshops in schools and community centers with kids. And as my journey progressed, I was getting all the different certifications, one of them being neurolinguistic programming about the subconscious mind. So we were in this old theology building in a university, and I was taking the class, and behind the teacher, I was seeing like waves of energy behind her. And I wrote on a piece of paper to my friend, I'm like, do you see that? It kind of looked like a mirage when you're driving your car and you see that on the road. And she looked at me and she shaked her head and she crumpled up the paper and it flew across the room. So I had this like energetic experience and I was so freaked out. And I ended up going and kind of exploring this gift. I did Reiki and I was like, hey, just dispel me of all the bad energy. That's kind of how it started. And then it just opened up my intuition even further. So as this process is taking place, I'm starting my coaching business. I'm focusing on goal setting and productivity. And one day I was having a client call and I had my angel cards beside me. and they were just like screaming at me. Like
Mhm.
all my attention was constantly going there. So I ended up pulling a card for my client and she loved it. So I started to kind of sprinkle in my intuitive gifts, card readings, meditation, Reiki into my business, even though I had used those tools for many years
Right.
myself. And that's where my business really took off, really embracing this whole part of myself and these gifts. And yeah, it's been a beautiful experience since.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It sounds kind of a very smooth journey for you. It doesn't sound like you really had to think much about what to do, how to get into. Would you agree with this, or you just missed bits and pieces to make it quick?
Well, I resisted it for a very long time. And then with that experience that shook me up, I just started to explore it. But I resisted that part. Like I took Reiki for myself, I did card readings for myself.
Right.
But when my Reiki master was telling me, you should be doing this for other people, you're very gifted, I resisted that for a very long time. And it wasn't until that client session, seeing my crystals and my cards off to the side, that I started to sprinkle it in. And literally, when I put intuitive life and business coach in my bio, that's when things really started to take off. So I think there was a lot of resistance in the beginning, but once I embraced this side of myself, things started to easily expand from there.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. So, did you said you started to you weren't necessarily a business coach at first.
Mhm.
So how did you get into it? I understand that you were doing things for you, but what was your calling at the beginning and what brought you to then incorporate the business side of it?
Right. So the beginning of my business was really focused on goal setting, productivity. And then the next kind of iteration of it was clarity, right? Of clarifying your purpose, clarifying your mission, and really helping people that were impactpreneurs, people that were spiritual, that wanted to make a difference in the world, understand the clarity behind the business, right? Clarifying what that looks like, what their mission is, what their offering is, and then helping them to take the confidence to start and then start the business with basic business logistics to kind of get them out the gates. So I found my business started to transform as I was transforming.
Right.
So that's kind of how it came to be. And I had worked while I started my own business for some of my mentors and helped them grow their business to like a millionaire, $1 million business. So I think from my personal experience for my business and helping that expand, and then my experience of helping them grow their business, that's what gave me that inkling to kind of step into this business side of myself, which I'm very passionate about.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So, what are the tools that you talked about, Oracle cards and Reiki and Crystal? Are there other tools that you like to use with your clients? And do you always use them? Or sometimes you have clients that are like, I don't really want to. I know you're good as a business coach, but I don't really want to get into that.
Yeah, I find that I attract spiritual entrepreneurs. So I love to look at things at a holistic picture of like mind, body, and spirit. Because I find that you can have your business strategy and marketing and social media all set. But if you keep doing this one step forward, two steps back motion, that's because your mindset's getting in the way. Or if you are someone that's working a 9 to 5 and you're building a business and your energy is all over the place, right? That's going to cause this pause in momentum. So I love to use kind of my toolbox holistically for my clients. So we focus on doing workshop style kind of sessions together in which there's the practical tools, but then we always bring in like the meditation, the card readings, the Reiki, all those different tools as well to seal it all in. So there's transformation on all levels.
Right, right. Oh, that's amazing. I love that. I do that as well. And I think it is very powerful because it helps you understand people on a different level and
Mhm.
also helps the client to see themselves and to understand themselves differently than if you were just having a conversation about what's blocking you, why you're not doing this, and things like that. All right. So what would you say are the main things, the main blockages that spiritual entrepreneurs have, um, I would say maybe if when they're starting or even when they're already going pretty well, but we all have those at some point. And I feel we are intuitive, but sometimes it's just easier to use our intuition for other people. So what are the things that you feel like are the things that most common?
Mhm. I think it affects on the three levels of the mind, body, and soul. So maybe you have the brilliant idea and you have the great purpose and idea of what you want to help people with, but you don't believe in yourself. You have
Mm,
these subconscious blocks that make you do this dance of one step forward, two steps back, one step forward, two steps back. So that's a really big piece. I think in the physical of like the practical tools of how am I going to create this business? How am I going to help people? What are my offerings going to look like? Right? Having that tangible kind of strategy and step by step path stops people. And then their energy, right? If you are pouring from an empty cup when you're starting a business, it's going to be a very uphill battle. It's going to be very challenging. So being able to make sure that they're aligned on their spiritual selves, their energy, their self care, whatever you want to be able to call it, I think is important because I think that that's a big reason why a lot of people don't stay in business for a decade or for a long period of time is because there's a misalignment there.
mm, mm. Okay, so I love that you talked about believing in yourself because I think this is a big, big thing for us to do. I know for myself, I I went on a journey with this. Not because with my mind I couldn't get there, but on a subconscious level, I didn't really believe I could until I started doing some healing and then things shifted. But I needed to figure out where my self-belief and my not really believing I could was coming from. So I'm curious for you, what what exactly do you do, or what are the things that for you are most common to use in those kind of situations, and if there is a pattern maybe along your with your clients that you have seen over time.
Yeah, I think when you're going on your entrepreneurship journey, you are busting outside of your comfort zone. So your body wants to keep you safe. Your ego wants to keep you safe. So imagine that you're stepping into the unknown and the sirens are going off in your head, woo, woo, like protection, like mayday, like you need to stay here, right? So all these fears come up in your field, right? Whether it's about a fear of success, a fear of failure, uncertainty, right? Really finding comfort in that. So I've really pride myself on changing my relationship with fear, of seeing it as a compliment that your mind, body, and soul is so confident you're able to do it, that that's why the sirens go off so loud. So I think it's really helping people change their relationship with fear. I think it's also using that tool that I mentioned, neuro linguistic programming, to look at where these things originated from, because our
Mhm.
subconscious mind is kind of empty aside from all the past lives and all the spiritual stuff that's associated when we're born on the human level. And then from 0 to 7 years old or to 13, those were in the big beliefs are created in our lives. And because we're processing so much information, but 250,000 thoughts a day, believe it or not, that we experience,
Yeah.
we have to process things fast and we have to go in file all the paperwork, if you look at your mind as a filing cabinet, into those files that are already established. So when you start to understand, wow, I'm actually scared about making money because my parents used to tell me that money, only comes from trees if you have comes
Hmm.
from trees, right? Like you're understanding the root of it, you're able to shred the big file so that going forward, you have a new base file that you can file the paperwork in. So neuro-linguistic programming has been really helpful for my clients for that. I think it's also having reframes, understanding the subconscious habit loops that we have. That's what I love to help my clients with for that process.
Right. Yeah. And well, money, I probably think, and I don't know if you agree with this, that money is one of the biggest issues that a lot of entrepreneurs have. I know I've had it. And as you said, I had to go through understanding why that was a problem. First of all, I think that the moment you start your own business, everything that you haven't looked at because maybe you didn't have to, or maybe you didn't want to, start to surface. So all the limiting beliefs or the beliefs about yourself and things like that. But then there is also this issue with money, which is not because you're not capable of doing what you're doing. It's just that from a mindset point of view, energy point of view. Do you mind talking a little bit more in details about what are the things that stop people that are very competent and very gifted in attracting money? Because a lot of people might say, oh, you're talented, so money comes easy to you, but it's not necessarily the truth. So I'd like to go a little bit deeper in this.
Yeah. So I find that people that have beautiful intuitive gifts or they have knowledge to share, they're used to getting paid for physically doing work at a 9 to 5. So it can also be a big reframe for entrepreneurship, for this natural gifts, for something that seems easeful to us to even feel like you can charge. Like I can't tell you how many people that
Mm,
I work with when they're thinking about pricing their offerings, it's so low. It's so low, right? I think it's also that we're used to looking at things on an hourly rate
yeah.
and the wages of things versus the value of what we're providing. People think that it should be low because that's what they're used to. So we have this like airplane mode that we're used to, and we kind of stay in our comfort zone as much as possible. So charging like 3 times, 10 times, 5 times, whatever more than we're used to be charging, it can feel like a big thing for people,
Yeah.
right? So there's so many different things when it comes to actually pricing your offerings that come up, but it's also all has to do with tying into worth. People, have that story or the relationship with wealth, right? Like a lot of people have a perception that wealthy people or rich people are evil, right? Or
Hmm.
um they're not doing things ethically, right? So there can be a disconnect there. So there's so much to unpack. Again, it kind of goes back to the unknown, right? They're stepping into the unknown. And I think that's why it's really important to step out of the paradigms, step out of your mind and connect to your intuition, to your highest self, right? Intuition Queen is the name of this,
Yeah.
right? You like to call yourself, right? So it's allowing your intuition to guide you, because when you're stepping into your spiritual, intuitive self, there's infinite possibilities. But when you're always going back to your airplane mode of your subconscious and your ego and the human side of yourself, that's where the battle can be. So I found the more that I tapped into my intuitive self and allowed that to be my guide, there wasn't as much battling resistance as there once was in the beginning.
Right, right. So where do you get into, how do you help your clients use their intuition more? Because if we're talking about, oh, I am not having enough clients for me to pay the rent, for example, or the mortgage, whatever that is, um, then fear kicks in because
Mhm.
you want to do this, you're good at this, but at the same time, you have to be practical because you need money. Um, and the majority of times, at least for me, the reason why people are unable to tap into their intuition, or at least they're unable to take action on the messages they receive, it's based on fear.
Mhm.
How do you help your clients release fear and help and get them to trust that they have a gift, they can receive the right messages, and they can move forward and be successful?
Yeah, I think it's when you're in those moments of fear, it's using tools like breath work and meditation and intuitive tools of connecting to your higher self, your intuition, to be able to calm yourself down, right?
Hmm.
And step into the shoes of your, if you want to call it intuition queen, your higher self, your fulfilled femme, sometimes I call them, to step into the shoes of that powerful, infinite self and receive the wisdom for the next steps. So whenever there's resistance coming up, we're often like battling it on a human level, but there's often a gift and a lesson of what we're meant to receive, or there's a different path that we're being destined to take. So the more that you can allow your intuition to be your guide and meditate and connect with that version of yourself to receive the guidance, the less mental resistance and pressure and dysregulation that you can experience. So I know in my life when sometimes I've had offerings that I mentally came up with. And some went well, and some there was a little bit of resistance. It's connecting back and being like, what is the divine lesson in all of this? And what steps am I meant to take forward to, serve more people and in exchange naturally get more funds in return?
Right, right. Okay, so I assume that your business is a life coach. It happens to me that I never, someone comes to me to work on something, but then we obviously going to go into all the areas of your life. How do you help your clients to really um, tie everything in and help them free themselves from whatever it is that is blocking them? Because I assume that if someone comes to you because they want to work on their business,
Right.
sometimes they don't necessarily want to work on their personal life because they don't think that's connected. So how does that work for you? How do you help them?
How you do one thing is how you do everything is something that T. Harv Eker has said. So it's all very much intertwined. So I always love to help people focus on their vision of what's going to light them up, whether it's their mission and purpose in their business or their mission and purpose and intention in their life personally right now. Really having that clarity that lights them up, that motivates them, that when they wake up every morning, they have a sense of intention and excitement to take on the day. Then it's looking at the resistance. So, what is standing in their way of achieving that on the mental level, on the practical level, right? What are the blocks? What are the fears that come up? Focusing on that and then helping them carve their path and
Right.
incorporating their intuition in every step of the way, right? What do you feel like soulfully is your grand mission? Right? What do you feel like your intuition can help guide you through those blocks? Right? And step you into the shoes of empowerment. And then how can you be intuitively led every step of the process of bringing it into fruition? So that's kind of like the process that works for everyone. Because whether it's your business mission or it's your mission for your family or it's your mission for health, that's kind of the process in which I have found personally that has allowed me to have the big transformation.
Yeah, sounds perfect. Sounds amazing. I totally agree with everything that you're saying. Like, there are a lot of things that I use as well. And I think that the more we get deeper into ourselves and our intuition, we understand how we function, but also what are the things that are affecting us on the outside. Then it's easier to connect to your intuition, trust yourself, and take action in the best way possible to bring you where you want to go. So yeah, completely agree with this. Um, is there anything else you would like to share with the audience? Normally, when I get to the end of the podcast, I like to ask my guests an advice you will give to anybody that might want to work with you or might want to start a business, or that is at the beginning of the business or is starting over because life happened. What would be maybe two things that you would suggest they do in order to start opening up that channel?
Allow your intuition to be your guide. Whenever there's resistance that's coming up, right? Acknowledge that the root of that comes from fear. It comes from your human part of yourself that's trying to protect you. So, no need to judge it. Connect back to your intuition and allow it to be your guide. When you're stepping into the shoes of your intuition queen or your higher self or your fulfilled femme, there's infinite possibilities. There's infinite power. That is you. That's the biggest part of you. And often in life, we can get caught up in the human stuff and we
Mhm.
can keep ourselves there. So step into the frequency of this powerful part of yourself and allow that to be your guide. And the more that you tap into that consistently, the more that it'll be an intuitively guided path and a beautiful co-creative path filled with so much possibilities and so many divine lessons that you're meant to learn.
Yes, I love that. Yes, the divine lessons, especially. All right. Tell us where we can find you and how can we work with you?
Yeah, you can go and check out cassandrarosa.com. There's my offerings there, there's my podcast, my book, And my social media as well is Cassandra Rosa A. I love to hang out on Instagram specifically. Come and say hi, talk in the DMs, they're always open. And then I have a Facebook group called Fulfilled Female Entrepreneur, in which we do live videos, we do some intuitive card readings, and then I have a series called Going Deep, really talking about the spiritual entrepreneurship journey. And we have deep talks, deep discussions, and talk about a lot of topics that aren't often talked about, with lots of amazing discussions. So
I love
yeah.
that. I love that. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. All the links will be in the show notes. So if you've missed that, don't worry. Just go check the show notes. Everything is going to be there. Okay. Well, Cassandra, thank you so much for being on the show. And for everybody of you, if you want to go check her out, all the links are there. And thank you so much for watching and listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my God, I hope you love this episode as much as I do. And if you want to get in touch with my guests, every detail is in the show notes. Let me know if you like this episode. What was the thing that caught your attention? The more you let me know, the happier I am. And if you want to work with me, you can just go to my website, theintuitionqueen.com. You can find all kind of sessions from human design, soul alchemy, card reading, and normal coaching. If you want to follow me on Instagram, just go to the intuition queen or the_intuition_queen. You can find me in both ways. And if you love this episode, if you like this episode or any other episode of this podcast, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes. This will really help me to grow the podcast and get more amazing people and just spread the message everywhere. So thank you so much for watching. Before I go, this podcast is also on my YouTube channel. So feel free to watch this on YouTube. All the links are below. You just find me as the Intuition Queen. So feel free to leave your comments. You can leave comments below if you resonated with this podcast, with this episode. And well, thank you for listening and thank you for watching. Bye.